This is from Laura in Little Rock, Arkansas. I am still getting leg cramps at night. I take magnesium, but sometimes when I take the magnesium, the leg cramps can sometimes get worse. The only thing that helps me is a little bit of coconut water or increasing my potassium. I feel like I'm constantly drinking water and I'm constantly dehydrated. The more water I drink, it doesn't really help, and I'm just can't seem to get hydrated. Thanks, dehydrated Laura.
Yeah, so you may need to add more potassium in your diet and also maybe more sodium. So sodium is really key to help get the water into the cells. And a lot of people, especially if they're on like a lower carb diet or they're fasting, they need more sodium because their insulin's down. So in our society, we hear that salt is bad. And if you have high insulin levels, you retain sodium and then you retain water, and that causes swelling in your body, and it also can cause high blood pressure, a lot of other different issues. But when you're doing intermittent fasting or an extended fast, or if you're on a low carb diet, you're exercising, you're lowering your insulin. When insulin gets below a certain threshold, it doesn't hold on, your body doesn't hold on to the sodium. You actually need more of it. So a lot of people do well by taking electrolytes. That's one way to help. Obviously coconut water is real bioavailable structured water that's helpful for the body, and it's got a lot of potassium in it. So for me, I noticed that, like, for example, there's times where I've gone real low carb, but I can't really do that for very long. I like to add back in fruit, and so my body does well adding in some extra fruit, and I'm a very active person anyways, and I do intermittent fasting. So I get into ketosis when I'm intermittent fasting. And then when I eat, usually two to, sometimes 3 meals in, let's say, a 6 hour eating window, I add in fruit, and the fruit provides structured water that actually gets into the cells, right? If you're just drinking filtered water, that filtered water can be good for like moving your bowels, and a little bit of it is going to be used and get into the cells. But actually, structured water, which they call the fourth phase of water, is actually a form that gets into your cell. It deeply hydrates your cells better. How do we get structured water? Well, the number one way is eating fruits and vegetables, right? They're rich in naturally structured water. Another way is there's a device called an analemma. I actually have a whole house analemma where it like filters the water and structures it. You can also get a little stirring device that you can stir your water. It's just analemmawater.com, I think, or something like that. But yeah, it's a great way to get structured water into the system. Coconut water is a form of structured water. So those things can be really helpful. And I would just tell you, a lot of people just do better when they, take a little bit of salt and put it in, and a little bit of salt on their finger and take that, and that works well. And then for other people, like especially if you're noticing that um, magnesium seems to make the cramping worse. In some cases, I've seen where a calcium magnesium supplement, like a powder, um, people tend to have less and they feel better, right? So you may need a little bit more
I think it's
calcium to
potassium.
balance.
I will tell you it. I believe leg cramps come from the and I have no scientific proof for this. I'm telling you because I struggle with leg cramps before. I believe that it's the potassium magnesium ratio. So it's not, what happens with people is that they take one thing and then the other thing is off. Everything in our body has to do with balance as well. And so when we're not balanced, that is a really, really big piece of how you can feel better. So I think the answer for me is, a lot of times when people think of also, I think the dehydration piece is another piece. I think that she needs to drink a lot more potassium or have potassium, and you need the magnesium, but you also have to balance it with the potassium. And then when you think about water, like the water that we think of in just a regular glass, it tastes good to drink and it feels good to drink it and it's clean. But your body is 70% water, but it's not a single ounce of that water is in the form of water of like Fiji water that you think, right? It's actually in a crystalline structure. It's almost like a jello kind of structure. When you go to the hospital and they give you an IV, you're getting, like I just went to the Restore Cryotherapy. I got not just the saline bag, but I got it with magnesium, potassium with electrolytes in it. And, the water that you're holding in your body it's not just the regular water. So if you drink the water and you just pee it out and it's not getting into your cell, that's where the problem is. And so getting those electrolytes, I think, is one of the biggest keys for me to not having leg cramps. And like you said, just taking salt, putting it on your tongue, or getting some more Celtic sea salt in your diet can really help.
Yeah, for sure. It can be personalized. Like you said, for you, you just notice better. You're doing better when you have potassium. So I found that in a sense, almost like a trial and error with different individuals. But a good place to start is just a little bit of electrolytes and a little bit of salt on your mouth because that's on your tongue because that's such a low hanging fruit to start with.